lovers. Buddy, you're a young man, hard man, shouted in the street, gonna take on the world someday. You got blood on your face, you big disgrace, waving your banner all over the place, singing, we will love you. You son of a bitch, anti-tracker! You take that back! You take that back right now! He said that Frank Sinatra and Freddie Mercury were not man lovers. Let me play among the stars. Let me see what spring is like on Jupiter and Mars. In other words, you got mud on your face, you big disgrace, kicking your can all over the place, singing, we will love.
It's the anti-tracker.
We will return to your scheduled programming shortly, or we are currently experiencing technical difficulty.
Hey guys, Michael J. Crawford, the anti-tracker here, and yes, Auntie is with me, but she's eating her breakfast, so she's a little off camera there where her dog food is. So we'll get into it in just a minute, but yeah, I watched The Mandalorian twice. I watched it once at midnight last night, and then again a little over an hour ago, because I wanted to make sure that my initial impressions, well, were fair, because I don't want to come across as you know, basically being overly biased about it. So I'll talk about my opinions of the show in just a couple of minutes. But first of all, Alexander is first. Congratulations. 47 Yorktown says hi. Thomas says hi. Darth Revan says thirst. Mr. Miles says first, because Mr. Miles is always first. And Alexander says, why beat Thomas? It does happen every now and then, yes. Rock Solid says first to claim that Freddy was Frank's boy toy. Well, everybody knows that. Darth Revan says somebody tried to steal my puppies. Wow, that's pretty jacked up. Stealing puppies is like, wow. Roxanne says, watch The Mandalorian this morning. It's okay, a little slow. Like I said, we'll get into that in just a minute. Thomas puts in $2, says, isn't too early for BIRDOPREY singing. It's never too early for BIRDOPREY singing. And number 9.
White, is this right?
So, Rock Solid reminds people to smash the like button, share via social, set chat to live, turn the mic and camera on before streaming, always a good idea. Donate if you can, join the Patreon, and down with Karoga. Thank you, Rock Solid. Valor says, not the first, not the last, but definitely the most fashionable. Very true. And Aberjam says, greetings, my brother, missed you Sunday, hope you're feeling better, thank you. We instituted a new anti-tracker pain level indicator right here. So right now it's yellow, meaning that the pain is present but tolerable. So when it's red, it means that I am definitely in a grumpy mood. And if it's green, it means I feel good, which I don't think it'll be green for a little while. So it is yellow as of right now. Anyway, so Vile says, did you get my Skype message? No, I did not. I have not been on Skype, but let me take a look. Yeah, you can absolutely do that, Vile. I have no problem with that. And so I think, assuming that is you, right? Yeah. Anyway, but yeah, because your name on Skype is not Vile Mike, so it confuses me. I'm easily confused. Life with Matthew says, hello, Jerry. I've been trying to watch Mandalorian all morning. Disney Plus is crapping out random content for me. Well, I'll tell you, most of the time when I go to Disney Plus, I get this. Says, sorry, something went wrong. Please try again later. It's the server is definitely being strained right now because a lot of people are trying to get on and see these shows. So let's talk about the Mandalorian for just a couple minutes. I'm not going to get into. Well, honestly, there's not much in the line of spoilers anyway. This is the first episode of a series, not a film. Is it bad? No, it's not bad. Is it great? No, it's just there. And you know, on the one hand, it you know, I'm thankful that it doesn't have all the negative things we've been thinking about with Star Wars lately. It's not politically driven. It's not overtly woke or anything like that. They're not trying to do character assassination on classic Star Wars characters for the most part. But it's also not compelling. It's not really that interesting, and it's very, very, I'm trying to think of the right term for it. It plays out very much like a Ginny Tartakovsky animation. If you don't know Ginny Tartakovsky, he does Samurai Jack and also more recently Primal. And one thing that Ginny is very good at is that he does these animations where there's very little, and sometimes, like if you watch Primal, I'm 2 episodes into Primal. It's really good actually, but there's no dialogue at all. And so you would think, wow, no dialogue. But he manages to develop the characters and stuff just through their actions and their expressions. He's a visual storyteller. I get the feeling that Jon Favreau is trying to do something like that. The problem is that, well, the dialogue is definitely minimalist in this, but everybody is either wearing a helmet, like the Mandalorian himself, or is covered in 17 tons of latex, or is computer generated. So there's no real emotion either. And that just leaves you with their actions. But quite frankly, their actions are just that the Mandalorian is a bounty hunter and he's good at his job. That's pretty much all you know about him. And that he's trying to complete his Mandalorian armor, apparently, because that's a thing. Now, I will say that this show is probably, if you're a fanboy of Star Wars, if you know all the behind-the-scenes lore, if you know the meaning of Mandalorian armor, you know who the Mandalorians are, you know what the guild is, you know all about this stuff, maybe you'll really enjoy it. For me, now I love Star Wars. I've loved Star Wars since 1977, but I don't know all the extended universe stuff. I don't know all the lore behind all this stuff. So there's no exposition in this at all. It's basically just following this guy collecting some bounties. Then he turns in his bounties and he gets some more bounties and he goes out after his new bounty. That's the entirety of this episode. And there's just no substance there. It's none whatsoever. And remember when the trailer for it came out, I complained that I didn't know what it was about. I still don't know what it's about. And I watched the first episode twice. There was one scene that elevated this episode beyond just completely waste of time. And that is this scene right here with IG-11. IG-11 is a bounty hunter droid. That's the only thing. He's not called IG-11. He's just called bounty hunter droid. That's literally what they call him. And when he starts shooting up this place, it reminds me of why I get kind of frustrated anytime there are robots in science fiction and stuff that ever miss their targets. You know, whether you're talking about Data from Star Trek or even like the battle droids from the prequels or anything like that, robots should never miss their target. They should be perfect. IG-88 is an example of how robots should behave in combat. It's really, really well done. And the way he moves is not the way a person would move. It's obvious that IG-88 is not, or I'm sorry, IG-11 is not motion capture. This is a fully realized droid. The way that he moves is not human. It's very much something only a droid could do. So I really did like that sequence. However, IG-11's character, don't really know much about him. Don't learn much about him. He's just like the Mandalorian. He's a bounty hunter. He's collecting bounties. That's all you know. The other thing is that the ending let me talk about two things that people have said are awesome. Nick Nolte. Nick Nolte plays a little orange alien covered in 17 layers of latex. Took me a minute. Actually, it wasn't even until the second time I watched it that I realized that was Nick Nolte. And I don't think it was Nick Nolte actually physically on set. I think he just did voiceover because the character is too small to be Nick Nolte. So it's a stuntman in a rubber suit and Nick Nolte's voice. And is he an interesting character? Well, I think people are raving about him because he's the only character that shows any emotion. And even that is subdued. There's very little emotional depth in this at all. Very few characters show any type of emotion at all. And the thing is that, like, and granted, again, I'm not an expert on the lore, but you guys correct me. I know I got a few Star Wars fanboys in this audience. Boba Fett, in my understanding, and Jango Fett were not actual Mandalorians, right? They had Mandalorian armor, but I thought that was stolen. Now, I could be wrong about that. I don't know. But in this, they talk exactly like Boba Fett. All of them, including the women. I'm the Mandalorian. He's the Mandalorian. Then they get the girl. She's the Mandalorian. They just all talk exactly the same. Very monotone, very flat, and emotionless. And, they're trying to be tough guys and everything. And that's fine for a background character like Boba Fett. That's not so fine when that's your lead. And so that's a problem. Everybody has zero emotion except for, one, the victim of the Mandalorians, and two, this Nick Nolte creature that likes to farm giant tadpoles with legs. Then the other thing that people have been raving about, and I really, really genuinely don't understand this, is the ending to the episode. People have been saying how, whoa, when you see that, the big cliffhanger at the end, wow, this is going to change everything. Whoa, it's mind... No, it's not. And in fact, I was like, what is the big deal? The revelation, and I will not, this isn't a spoiler review, but the revelation is simply what species the bounty that he's after is. And it's a species you might not have expected, but it's not like it's an actual character from the past or something like that, like a character that was that species. Like, I will say hypothetically, let's say that the species is Andorian, right? But it's not Commander Shran, that kind of thing. Moving it to Star Trek, I know, but I just wanted to make sure that I don't accidentally give away anything about it. So it would just be like a random Andorian that he's after. Same thing with this. Okay, the species. Okay, that's interesting. Haven't seen, but the last time we've seen that species, it was a very specific character, but it's not that character. So what? What's the big deal? And that's kind of my whole attitude about the show. What's the big deal? What is this about? Don't know. Is it bad? No. But there's no substance whatsoever. So I'm going to give the first episode of The Mandalorian a straight up 5 out of 10. It was not bad. It was not good. It was just present. However, some people, I think, and I'm not going to point the finger, but I do think that some people are giving it a higher rating than it deserves, not because of anything other than the fact that they're just relieved that it's not woke. I think that's all it is. I think the people that are raving about it are just excited that it's not woke. All right, so back to the chat now that I've wasted all that time. Thomas says, guess I'll pause The Mandalorian to watch the best YouTuber. Thank you, Thomas. You don't have to, but, you know, especially since I was just talking about The Mandalorian, but thank you. Darth Aaron says, had to call the cops. They patrolled, still a bit paranoid about leaving the house. I don't blame you. If somebody tried to steal my puppy, I would be mad. Jeff says, good to see you've gone from red to yellow. Yes. And Darth Aaron says, hey, that meter was my idea. Yes, it was, Darth, but thank you. Vile Mike says, don't read the message on the live stream. Just want to know if you saw it. Well, I just read it, I think, assuming that message that I read it. I'll tell you what, do me a favor. Send me another message and just say, this is Vile Mike, so I can make sure that I'm looking at the right message. If you could do that, Vile, I would greatly appreciate it. Roxanne says, couldn't get on my Roku this morning on Checker, but my phone worked fine. Yeah, I've talked to... It's funny because I've tried it on I have it on Roku, on the phone, and on my computer. And on the computer, I've yet to be able to get it to load at all. On the phone, I've yet to be able to get it to load at all. On the Roku, it's hit and miss. So we'll see. I don't know if... I'm sure that it'll settle down relatively soon, but I don't know how long it'll take. And what the heck? My computer... let me see. I just got... Hold on, guys. Let me check something here. Bear with me. I know. I'm sorry, but that little thing on my phone has me concerned that something might not be right with my live stream software. So, not right now. What's that? All right. Nope. Okay, good. All right, so where was I? John wants to know, is it male? If you're talking about The Mandalorian, yes. Darren says, good morning. Oh, look, Disney Plus, yawn. Well, I'll tell you, here's the thing. I also spent a little bit of time looking over the Disney Plus catalog and how it's organized and stuff. Overall, I'm perfectly fine with the Disney Plus library of content, and I'm interested to watch a lot of the stuff. I actually watched a little bit of Steamboat Willie this morning. I've never actually watched that. It's a short, Mickey Mouse's first appearance. It's like 7 minutes long. I watched like half of it. I didn't know it was anything other than the stupid mouse at the wheel of that steamboat, because that's the clip you always see. I didn't know there's a cat and a cow and stuff in it. So, you know, stuff like that I think is cool. A lot of the classic Disney content is there, which I think is cool. I actually like Disney Plus as a service. I just think The Mandalorian is kind of yawn. Roxanne says, it does feel like a typical Dave Filoni show. I thought that the walk of the Mandalorian is very stiff and mechanical. Yeah. But the problem with that, Roxanne, is that that's half the episode is just the Mandalorian walking from one place to another. And that's why I said it's very much like Genny Tartakovsky's style. He has episodes of Samurai Jack where the bulk of the episode is just Samurai Jack walking. But the problem is that only works if you are into the character, and there's no character here. He's just a suit of armor. Along the lines of neither terrible nor great, is it comparable to Solo? No, I would say, because Solo had some extremely cringeworthy moments. This did not. Solo also had some really fun moments. This did not. So, no, I would not compare it to Solo. Roxas, shocked at the reference to the holiday special. I kind of was too. There is, and don't worry, this is not a spoiler. There is a reference to the holiday special, just that someone was talking about plans for Life Day. And so that's kind of funny. Mr. Miles wants to know if anybody's watched played the Knights of the Old Republic and watched the Mandalorian episode. Don't know. Darth Raven says, check Twitter, it's real, read their rules. I'm still laughing. What is with you guys sending me crap in the middle of my live streams? Darth, I love you, man, but, you know, sometimes you guys do this to me. Oh, you're talking about that StarTrek.com thing. I saw that you sent that to me. And let's see. So they're looking for pitches and stuff for Star Trek. I might have to do some stuff with that, but I'll check it out. It's way too much here to read on the show, but I will check it out, Darth. Roxanne says, seriously, the end of the episode told you everything you need to know regarding what the show is going to be about. What? The person that he was after happens to be a species that we've seen before and is very young. That doesn't tell me jack. All that tells me is that's what his bounty is. Now, maybe because he's actually got a heart of gold, and so he's going to help this person, as opposed to turn them in to the obviously evil guy that hired him.
Hello,
I don't know.
world.
And Bruce Lombardo puts in $1.99 through the super chat. Thank you, Bruce. I truly appreciate it. Says hail to the chat. Thank you. And let's see. Boba and Jango were not Mandalorians. I didn't think so, but this Mandalorian sounds just like Boba and Jango. But that's kind of my point. Hello from Bosnia. Hey, and Andre, good to see you, my friend. Steve says, liked, good morning, LOL. Thank you, Steve. Roxanne says, what I've seen of the Mandalorians comes from Rebels and Clone Wars. Yeah, you see, and that's the thing. Since I haven't been into Rebels and Clone Wars, and I don't know anything about the Mandalorians, that's a problem, because you can't make a new series that requires you to have seen a previous series in order to understand. You're not going to get a new audience that way. You're only going to get people that were fans of the prior show. The whole point of this show is to bring people back to Star Wars, and unless they've been following Star Wars, they don't know what the hell's going on. So that, I think, is a genuine problem. Darth Maul says, but did it feel like Star Wars? At times, yes. At other times, no. For example, the dialogue, particularly at the beginning of the episode involving the first bounty that we see the Mandalorian collect, the dialogue there felt kind of a little too contemporary. It felt like it belonged more like in the MCU than in Star Wars. And that's not a dig on the MCU. You guys know I love the Marvel movies, but that kind of dialogue doesn't belong in Star Wars, the way that the guy was trying to talk his way out of getting captured by the Mandalorian. I don't know. That was just my initial impression. Other times it felt very much like Star Wars. The bounty is Frank and Freddy's love child. Oh, that's what you're saying. Yeah, that could be. That could be. Darth Aaron says, Disney Plus is not even out here until March 31st. Oh, I'm sorry, Darth. That sucks for you. Are we able to get your Disney Plus free via Verizon without issue? Actually, no. I couldn't get it working from the Verizon deal, so I just signed up for the free trial. Thomas says, I haven't seen problems yet with Disney Plus. My smart TV won't stay connected, no internet, but that's not Disney's fault. Well, okay. But yeah, Disney. I've had a lot of problems connecting, but it seems to have settled down a bit compared to what it was a few hours ago. You have a problem watching people just walking? I do too. That's why I hated Lord of the Rings. Well, but you see, the thing is that at least with Lord of the Rings, you got to know the characters a little bit before you watch them walk. The Mandalorian starts with the guy walking. Thomas says you should watch Agent Carter. I may, now that I have Disney Plus. I may get around to it. Valor says, according to Gary, there was a few SJW anti-male moments. Any idea what he was talking about? Honestly, I think the best I could come up with, and I think Gary's grasping at straws, to be honest with you, if this is what he's really saying. I didn't watch his full review. I know he gave it an 8 out of 10, which I think is way too high a score. But the only thing that you could argue was SJW was the presence of a single female character. Now, keep in mind, the vast majority of the characters in this are male. Oh, wait. I think I do know. But I think Gary's still grasping at straws. There are two things that you could potentially argue with it. But the problem is they're the only two references to female in the entire show. So I think you're really stretching it if you're trying to say this makes it SJW. One is that the Nick Nolte character has a farm with these giant tadpole-looking things that you ride through the desert. They're like, tadpole space horses. And the Mandalorian at one point, he almost gets killed by one. And then a little bit later, the Nick Nolte is trying to get him to learn how to ride it. And he's like, it doesn't look like, he's like, so you're a Mandalorian, you can ride that thing. And he looks at it and goes, I don't think he likes the fact that I tried to roast him because he tried to use his flamethrowers. And to which Nick Nolte responds, that's actually a female. All the males are eaten during the mating cycle. Now, you could try to argue that that's trying to make some kind of SJW point, but to me, that's just a stupid joke about, the practices of some animals and the fact that you can't tell the difference between the genders of this. You know what it looks like? It looks like a giant version of the pig lizard from Galaxy Quest, the tadpole thing. That's what it's a giant pig lizard. So that's the one thing. The only other thing is that the Mandalorian gets some kind of medal that is apparently, and this is another thing where it's like probably one of those things that they needed a little exposition for the people like myself that don't follow all the lore. I'm sure that a lot of you hardcore fanboys already know what this stuff is. However, at one point, the Mandalorian is given a piece of metal from one person that has some kind of significance. This metal, it's implied, belonged to the Mandalorians, but then was taken from the Mandalorians, and now he got a piece of it back, and they forge a piece of his armor from this strip of metal that he collects. So, again, no exposition, no explanation, just, ooh, look at that. I got some of this for you. Good to get it back to you guys. And I'm like, huh? What? What's so special about this metal? So he goes to the Mandalorian hideout there, and in order to get his armor forged, and the actual blacksmith is a female. And it seems like she is a person in authority in the Mandalorian culture. However, there's no political agenda or anything like that. They don't, it's not like her being a female made any difference in the scene whatsoever. If it was a dude, the scene would have played out exactly the same. So I don't see it as an SJW thing at all. I just saw it that his boss was a woman. So what? Or at least the blacksmith that he was going to was a woman. But again, and this is another problem, since I don't know jack about the Mandalorian culture before watching this, I don't know what the hell's going on except that she made a piece of armor for him. And she asked if his signet had been revealed. What the hell does that mean? Don't know. They don't explain it.
Hello.
And Yosef puts in €2. Thank you so much. Says you mentioned me in your last night. Have some money. No problem, Yosef. It's funny, Yosef. You when I was playing Lore and BIRDOPREY side by side in their wonderful duet. We're gonna have to do that again sometime soon. You had just super chatted both of them, which I thought was hilarious. All right, so Darth Maul says, I wish Disney would put up their more controversial stuff. All my life, I've heard how characters were stereotypes or straight up racist, but I want to see it for myself, for my edification. Yeah, they're never going to do that, Darth. They are, like the unedited version of Fantasia, which I have seen once. They will never, ever, ever release that because it is straight up racist. Same thing with, Song of the South. I've never seen it. Roxanne says it's going to be a story about how the Mandalorian redeems himself by saving the bounty versus turning it in. It's a money is bad story. You could be right, but I don't know. Not Ryan John says I watched Mandalorian. I thought it was meh. Exactly. That's why I said 5 out of 10. Not good, not bad. Just there. Tom says, well, the Mandalorian is just a pilot episode. How often are pilot episodes good? Well, it depends, Thomas, because on a streaming service, the pilot episode is not like in the old days of TV. In the old days of TV, a pilot was commissioned to test to see if it's a viable show. And then they move forward from there. And that's why it's pretty frequent. If you look at a lot of TV shows from the 80s and before, the pilot episode would have characters that didn't appear in the regular show, or costumes that were different, or props that were different and stuff. Heck, look at Star Trek. If you look at Where No Man Has Gone Before, the second pilot, and then the rest of the original series, the uniforms were different, the phasers were different, just about everything was different, except for most of the characters, but not all the characters were there. And some of the characters were different, so yeah. Tim says, Django was Mandalorian was, I don't think so. Mike Vasquez says, the Fets were Mandalorian, the Mandalorian is a culture, not a race. But you see, here's the thing. And I know, and Roxall is saying that he's not a Mandalorian. I don't know. But this does not establish anything. If you watch this, you won't be any closer to an answer on whether the Fets were true Mandalorians or not. And Roxall says, it felt like Star Wars Western. Kind of. I mean, it definitely had a Western vibe, but a lot of that was just the set pieces and stuff. And they were trying to make the Mandalorian into a Clint Eastwood type of character. But the problem is that it wasn't that interesting. It was a fistful of data in the Star Wars universe. Huh. That's probably not too far off. Log into your Verizon account on desktop, not phone. I did it from a desktop browser and went through just fine. Thank you. Enter Gandalf was a jerk. He could have called the Eagles to fly them to Erebor just outside of Mordor. Yes, he could have. Gandalf was stupid. I don't think he was a jerk. I think he was stupid. I think some animals eat the male after mating in the real world. Yes, that is, some spiders do that. A lot of the insect world, the females will eat the male after mating. And that actually is so that the female can have all that extra nutrients to develop the brood that she is, going to hatch. No, they did not cover what the metal was in any previous show. Okay, I didn't know, Roxall, but thank you. And there's Yosef's €2. Thank you, my friend. Abergen says, plenty of female animals eat males during or after mating. The verse is not true, so you're right on that one. Gary was reaching. Yeah, I think, honestly, and I'm not trying to pick on Gary or, Geeks and Gamers actually gave it a really positive review. I haven't seen too much else on it yet, but I know some people are going to be looking for things to pick on this. There really isn't anything that I could grab about the show that sucked other than the fact that it was bland. And that there was no character development. Heck, there weren't really any characters. Roxanne says, please no Bird and Lauren Bird's duets. I know, that was painful. And Yosef says, yeah, my grammar sucks. It's okay, Yosef, I understand. If you get Bird and Lauren to sing Baby It's Cold Outside, ooh, now that would be freaking gold right there. Dr. Alex is here. Good to see you, Doctor. Do you guys have Disney Plus in Great Britain? If not, Mr. Miles says, Disney won't do a money is bad story because they don't believe they love money. You mean Disney would do a money is bad story because they don't believe they love money? I know. It sucks. Disney Plus is not available in Europe. Shall I go full Jack Sparrow on it? Well, you can. By the way, all the Jack Sparrow movies are, of course, available on Disney Plus. Surf says MASH had like 6 pilot episodes in a row. That's, yeah. The original Mandalorians weren't even human. Well, I don't know, Commander. You see, that's the thing. I don't know the lore behind it, and you won't know the lore after watching this show. That's the biggest problem with this show. There's nothing there. It's just beautiful shots of people walking around and collecting bounties. But there's also a couple of problems I have with it. They rely way too much on CG. It's painfully obvious, for example, that they use CG instead of makeup on several of the aliens. and it looks horrible to me because it had to be done on a little bit of a budget, so everybody has this like glistening, shiny look to them because the specularity was off. Anybody that knows anything about 3D animation knows what I'm talking about there. If the specularity is set too high, it makes everything basically look like it's wet all the time, and that's a common problem with CG that's not really balanced and finished. A lot of that in this. Pretty much every alien has that look to them. Thomas says, nature fact, Kurogan males eat females before mating. That's why they don't have women anymore. That's true. Kurogans are the exception. So in other words, you could swap characters and none the wiser. Yeah! Well, heck, I don't even know the name of any of the characters except IG-11. I can't remember the name of a single character in the entire episode. The Mandalorian is only called a Mandalorian. So there's yeah. And why they kidnap kids? Don't know that either. Let's see. Galadorn says, Trang were original Mandals. They allowed anyone who would follow Mandalore and their traditions as Mandalorian. The Mandalorian Iron Besker's Gam might have been mentioned on the cartoon series. Well, that may be true, but the problem is there's none of that lore is in this. Maybe they'll get into it as the series progresses. They should. But, you know, I understand that the lore of the Mandalorians is really rich, and a lot of Star Wars fans love it. I don't know much about it, and I think they should have explored it. Stanley says it's like some derivative Terminator. Well, he's just, you know what it is? It's like, it's the Boba Fett scene from Empire Strikes Back when he's chasing the Millennium Falcon turned into an hour-long episode. I mean, it's just the Mandalorian collecting bounties. That's all you get to see. Was the Nick Nolte alien CG? You know, there are bits, I think it was a combination. I think that they had a person on set, but I think that they put CG over his face in the close-up shots rather than latex. At least that's my guess. I don't know for sure. I'd have to look at some behind-the-scenes stuff. I mean, that character, the Nick Nolte character, was probably the best looking of them. Stanley says, couldn't quite tell, rendering takes a long time. Well, on home computers, yes. Rendering these days for ILM, the systems that they use, nothing there would have taken all that much time. And let's see. I did get a notification. Well, that's good. And Dan also has a lot of stuff about Mandalorians was featured in Clone Wars and Rebels. Yes, but you see, this show can't be, you can't just rely on people knowing the lore from Clone Wars and Rebels. So, you know, that's a problem. And let me see, what, Mr. Miles. And by the way, Vile Mike, if you're still here, you didn't send me that message. Mr. Miles sent me a little thing that says, Jango Fett was born years prior to the invasion of Naboo. He claimed to have been born on the planet Conquered Dawn, a Mandalorian world. His exact history is unknown. While he did wear Mandalorian armor, officials of Mandalore disavowed any connection to Fett, claiming he was simply a bounty hunter who somehow stole an artifact from their planet's troubled past. However, okay, that's all fine and dandy, but why would they disavow Jango Fett? Because Jango Fett did not behave in any way differently than the Mandalorian did in this episode. It's a man. It's a DeLorean. That's really, really bad. Animal trivia. After its eggs hatch, the velvet spider slowly liquefies its own innards and regurgitates them to feed its babies, sacrificing itself for their survival. Interesting. I didn't know that one. Tim says, don't worry about not remembering characters. To this day, I have no idea who the other bridge officers on the USS Discovery. Well, yeah, nobody knows. There's Robot Chick, who, of course, died. And then there was Toaster Head, and then Cyborg Chick. And let's see. Stanley says, it seems that the Nick Nolte alien was a new Stan Winston animatronic. Well, so it was a pretty good one. But still, you know what? I don't care about the fact that you can put flashy faces and computer-generated effects. I care about a story, and there's no story here. I think the mouth of the Nick Nolte character was radio-controlled servos. The mouthing of words looked that way. You could be right. I mean, like I said, to me that's kind of unimportant. It's just I think they were depending on the spectacle of the show to sell it, but there's just nothing. Stanley says, small woman in the costume. He just did the voice. That's why. Well, I knew it wasn't him in the costume. It was too small. But yeah, yeah. I think that they needed to develop the characters, develop a story. None of that was present here. I don't like many movies because they overuse special effects and or CGI. They're covering bad story, acting, and special effects. CGI STD is a good example. Yes, and unfortunately, Mandalorian is a good example. The difference is STD had things that, of course, offended us. Not because of, oh, no, you can't handle a strong woman. No, because they crapped all over Star Trek lore. This doesn't crap on Star Wars lore, but it also doesn't really expand upon it. It just shows a guy doing his job. Roxanne says, rumor, there's a new member at antitracker.com. Very cool. I need to update my credits sometime soon. Thank you. Toastred, he shouldn't have been the character, should have been the character's actual name. I agree. Amazon is to give people prequel comics for the Star Trek Picard show. Beaming in, what's up, Trekkers? How are you, Antrigger? I'm hanging in there, Continuum, and I watched The Mandalorian twice, and I still don't know what it's about. Django Fett may copy the Mandalorian culture, but George Lucas says he was never a real Mandalorian. I understand that, damn 23, but keep in mind George Lucas is no longer an authority on what is and is not Star Wars canon. As painful as that may be for some to say, it's a fact, because he doesn't own Star Wars anymore. So he cannot determine jack when it comes to Star Wars canon. That falls under the purview of Lucasfilm. Mr. Miles says, I sent that because you were wondering if Django was or wasn't a Mandalorian. It seems even in canon it's a debate. He claims to be, they claim he isn't, so there's no answer. Fair enough. Toasters were already done in BSG. Yes, they were, and they were better. Animatronic used some new voice-active mouse servo deal, but agreed, no story. Yeah, and that's the point. It's not, I mean, how they did it, honestly, I could not care less, because if it was an here's the thing, like IG8 or IG-11. IG-11 was really well done, and that battle scene with IG-11 was really cool. I would be curious to know how much of that was CG and how much was practical, because the way that IG moved its limbs, it felt more practical than CG. I would love to see some behind the scenes on IG-11. However, Nick Nolte's character, I don't give a crap about. Because of what, there was nothing. Some people say, oh, Nick Nolte stole the scene when he was on. Why? Because he actually showed a moniker of emotion. And, the one thing, his character had an interesting little quirk, which is that he would finish his statements by saying, I have spoken. Like somehow that's some big deal that he's finished saying whatever he's saying. But honestly, that's his character. He should just be called Mr. I Have Spoken, because that's the only thing I can remember about him. Steve says, yeah, what does George Lucas know according to Disney? Well, it's not Disney, it's Lucasfilm. But yeah, George Lucas is no longer considered the authority on Star Wars because he sold it. He literally sold out. Just a Mandalorian hunting down a MacGuffin. Yep. I read somewhere that one episode is about 15 minutes. One episode is about 15 million US dollars. Crazy mouse. Yeah, they pumped a lot of money into this show. And quite frankly, I think it was a waste, because if you don't have a great story, pumping $15 million per episode into a show is just pissing away $15 million. I suspect they're pulling the Jar Jar Abrams style to drag out the barrage of mysteries as long as possible. Dave Filoni pulled it a lot in the cartoon. Well, I haven't watched his cartoons. I know some people really like Dave Filoni, some people hate him. I don't give a crap. Dan says, you missed some of my comments. Well, sorry, Dan. If you didn't put @AntiTrekker in them, I don't always catch them. And every now and then the chat wigs out on me like it did earlier today. So if I did miss a couple, I am truly sorry. Just Favreau more interested in getting the look and effects right than the story. Well, but you see, like Favreau, I think did a good job with, I like Cowboys vs. Aliens. I liked the first two Iron Man films, and those were all Favreau films. I think Favreau can make good movies. but this just didn't feel like, it didn't feel like there was any effort put into developing character. That was just about world building. Just like Jungle Book and Lion King, haven't watched either one yet. I would love to see Return of the Bendu. Okay. Looks great, regurgitated story or just generic story? Well, no story. There is no story. The story is guy gets up, collects bounties, and credits. I don't understand why many YouTubers who hated Lucas for ruining Star Wars now think he's great just because Disney did a bad job too. A bad job is a bad job, period. I agree. I'll say this. As far as the prequels are concerned, I'm not a hater of the prequels, but I always found it ironic that some of the same people that were out there screaming about how George Lucas should burn at the cross or burn on a stake are then begging for George Lucas to come back now that Lucasfilm without him has done even worse, and part of that is because of Kathleen Kennedy. Well, almost all of that is because of Kathleen Kennedy. But George Lucas was a good general story builder, right? And he was very good at that. But what people forget is that he sucks as a director and he sucks as a script writer. So that's why if you look at Empire and Jedi, he did not direct or write the screenplay for either of those, and those are the best of Star Wars. Clone Wars superior to Rebels? Wouldn't know. Mr. Ross says, to be fair, you can't say if it's a waste or not based on a sample of one episode. Well, I understand, but the first episode is supposed to hook you, and there's no hook here. This episode could fall almost anywhere in a series and wouldn't. I mean, there was nothing about it. Nothing was developed. Nothing was introduced. It was just, oh yeah, here he is doing his job. Is The Mandalorian like Batman? Dead-end short film in the Star Wars TV series. I'm not sure what you mean by Batman. How is Batman a dead-end short film? Stanley says, but Iron Man movies were from source material. Well, so is this. I mean, the Star Wars universe has been around for a pretty long time. Brian says, I'm late to the chat. What did you think about The Mandalorian? 5 out of 10. It was not good. It was not bad. It was present. There was no story, but it was beautiful. Swingers was good, but the story is just a dude trying to get laid. I've never seen Swingers, and same thing with Jungle Book and Lion King. I haven't seen those either. And looks like Mondasian just subscribed. Very cool. If you're here, Mondasian, thank you. If you're not here, well, thanks anyway. Herzog was great as always. I'm not sure who Herzog was. Bendu was in Rebels. Basically, you have the light side, the dark side, and the Bendu was gray in the middle. Oh, Rock Solid, don't get me started on the whole gray Jedi thing because I hate the concept. Sorry, I'm sorry, but the ultimate in balance or whatever is not to be half good, half bad. Once a TV show called Farscape, when it finished had a miniseries called The Peacekeeper Wars to conclude the storyline. Sometimes it's showing in individual episodes or as a movie. Okay. Bringing weight to generic dialogue. Okay, I'm still not sure what you're talking about there. There once was a Star Wars video game called Bounty Hunter. All you did was collect bounties. Well, this is Bounty Hunter the series then. Are we at yellow turd alert? Yes, the colored turd in the corner is an indicator of how my leg is doing so that people don't have to say, how you feeling, Andy Trekker? You can just see. If it's yellow, it means it's hurting, but it's not killing me. If it's red, it means I'm in a lot of pain. And if it's green, it means it's fine, but it'll probably be a while before a green turd pops up there. I think they were asking if The Mandalorian is supposed to be directly to tie into the rest of Star Wars, or if it's like the Joker movie, a standalone thing. If that's the case, no, I'm pretty sure it's supposed to tie into Star Wars because they do make reference to the holiday special. They make reference to Return of the Jedi and some of the events there. So yeah, it's definitely in the Star Wars universe. Tom says, wait, you never saw Lion King, the old or the new one? Well, I saw the old one. I hated it. I've not seen the remake. Werner Herzog, the guy who gave him the big Mountie. Well, he was an interesting presence, but again, didn't really do anything except paid him to do a job. And then he goes to do the job. How the old 3D printer is doing? Well, the one was destroyed with that one horrible accident. I don't know if you remember, that was a while ago. The other one is waiting to get going as soon as I can get on my leg for extended periods of time so I can get working on it. I understand you like the idea of the gray in the middle. However, they were the way they played the Bendu, he was more of a pragmatist. I assume you mean pragmatist? Yeah, pragmatist, yeah. Gray Jedi, in the sense you're thinking, is simply a yin and yang approach. I don't see why someone could hate that idea so much. Well, of course you don't. Darth Maul says, at least it's not this passionate hate for it like the recent trilogy. No. I'm certainly not hating on The Mandalorian. I'm just disappointed. It had so much potential, and they just didn't really do anything with it. Brian says, I saw you had some video games in the background in a previous stream. What games do you dig? Well, personally, Diablo 3 is probably the game I played the most in recent times. I play Space Engineers on a fairly regular basis, and that's really about it right now because I just don't have a lot of time for gaming. But back in the day, I used to play a lot of stuff on my PlayStation, but now not so much. Turd looks more of a mustard color. Well, shut up. Also, Gray Jedi can be any rogue Jedi that aren't under the control. Yeah, I know, but that's the problem, Mr. Miles. They tried to redefine Gray Jedi to mean everything, right? Oh, Gray Jedi can be a rogue Jedi. It can mean a Jedi that uses Sith powers. It could be a Sith that's good. It could be this. It could be that. It could be. I don't care. You know, Star Wars. The whole point, one of the things that made Star Wars so much fun back in the day is that Star Wars is a very black and white universe in quite the literal sense, right? Because look at Stormtroopers and Darth Vader. I mean, everything is very, very simple. You are good, you are bad. There is no gray in Star Wars. But then they try to add gray because, ooh, it means depth. Well, what they're trying to do is, and this is a problem is that they're trying to take away consequence from being bad. So you could be gray, so you can kind of do the bad stuff, but you're not really bad. And I'm not interested in that. I'm just not. I don't want to hear excuses for why Jedi can have Force lightning. Dan says, I think they want all the TV shows to be connected. I'm sure they will be. I would say Ahsoka was more of a Gray Jedi. I don't care. I don't care about Gray Jedi. I do not care. And I'm not a big lore head when it comes to Star Wars. Maybe one day in the future we'll do some Star Wars lore videos, but quite frankly, and then I'll research it some. But right now, I just, yeah. When it comes to watching the Picard show, will you have to read the comic? I don't know. I'll probably have to get the comics myself, but I hope not. And Sci-Fi says, notice how Auntie the Beagle is holding everyone captivated. Of course, because she's Auntie. Right? She's staring at me right now. I know you can't really see her face. Move this. There you go. So you keep saying it had so much potential, but again, you've only seen the first episode. Also consider The Expanse really slow burn. I agree. I'm not saying the series sucks, Miles. I'm just saying that this first episode is bland. And there's just nothing there. And that's my problem, is that if you're gonna try to get me hooked by showing me this first episode, show me something. This is not doing it for me because I don't know these characters already. I don't know this corner of the Star Wars universe already. And all I know is that there's some guy that's a bounty hunter. In the EU, the Jedi kidnap children from their parents, prevents emotions, and they call the Sith evil. Well, that's not even in the EU. That's in the films. That's my point. Gray Jedi isn't an order of any sort. It's just the leftovers. Well, then it's pointless. You're acting like Gray Jedi is a school of order of its own. It's not. I never argued that, Mr. Mouse. You are putting words in my mouth, my friend. Because I never said the Gray Jedi were a school or an order of its own, and that's part of the problem, is that they want it to be ill-defined, so it can be whatever they want it to be at that particular moment. That, to me, is lousy writing. I would consider Han Solo to be a gray tweener character. Well, okay, but you see, Han Solo is not a Jedi. I don't really like the clear-colored lightsabers. Clear? I'm not sure what you mean. And Orville Nation throws $2 and says, "Gotta love Anti-Trigger." Thank you, Orville. I know that I can get a little like a crotchety old man sometimes when it comes to some of this stuff. I do, but the Grey Jedi thing, it just it just doesn't, like, there's nothing about that appeals to me. And careful, by the way, Orville Nation, as much as I love the applause there, remember, if you use emojis now, Google is like frowning on the use of emojis for some reason, because I guess people are using it to say secret code things. Uncle Remus says, the problem with Disney Plus is that there really isn't a big new show after Mandalorian until Falcon and Winter Soldier, which doesn't come till the end of the next year. That's true. Disney should have more original content up and running, because while their back catalog of the classic Disney, Marvel, Pixar, and Lucasfilm stuff is awesome. Because you can watch all the Star Wars, you can watch all the all the Marvel films, you can watch all the Disney films, you can watch all the Pixar films. And by the way, there's a lot more to the Disney film catalog than people realize. And so that's all cool, but they need more original content. They have a few original shows. The Mandalorian, the Jeff Goldblum show, which looks like it might be kind of fun, but is it going to be a huge draw? Probably not. They're doing like a High School Musical show. Don't care about that. So, yeah, there's not much original content yet, and that's what's going to pull people in over time. My belief is Jedi or Sith, yin and yang. Yes, I agree. In Star Wars Rebels, the characters use the ship called the Ghost, which there is a ship like that in the Episode 9 trailer. Okay. Don't know if it'll show up or not, but we'll find out. And let's see. Tim says, Great Jedi is about a philosophy not using light side and dark side powers rolled into one. Most Great Jedi in lore were limited to only basic abilities. It's a belief philosophy. I'm not a fan either. Yeah, it just doesn't appeal to me. And I understand, if you love it, that's great. I'm not, and remember, I am not, I am not one of those people that thinks that you're a bad person if you disagree with me on this. If you love the Great Jedi, knock yourself out. But just remember that if you mention it to me, I'm just going to say, I don't care. Auntie is waiting for treats. Well, right now Auntie is she's like staring at me like, oh, you got treats? But yeah, she's taking her normal 12-hour nap. Remember, people, smash the like button, share via social, set chat to live, turn the microphone and camera on before going live, donate if you can, join the Patreon, and Krogan Dictator loves Frank and Freddy. All very true. Mr. Miles says, I said you're acting. I did not say you did it. You said it. You just put words in my mouth. Well, okay. Fine, Mr. Miles. But when you say I'm acting like that, that is your interpretation of it. I don't see it that way. I lost track. I've been watching Auntie. What were we talking about? We were talking about Auntie. Grey Jedi officially don't exist. Good. Star Wars Rebels' first episode did not have Vader. Later, they released an extended version of the pilot with the Vader. Well, I don't care about Vader. Well, I mean, I do. Vader was an awesome villain, but I don't care about Vader being in it. I just want to see a good story, and there's no story at all. And let's see. Luke is in the house, says, bonjour, ladies and gentlemen. Luke puts in €2, says, time is ticking, a soldier sub count. Ready? I'm getting the 10K video ready. I'm going to be working on that later today. Where Mr. Miles is currently working on the next Borg video. It's going to be a lot of fun. And so, yes, we're keeping things moving, Luke. Thank you. Brian says, I've been rewatching your Last Jedi review series, seen them more than the actual movie. Will you do one for The Force Awakens? That movie needs someone to stomp its mud hole, in my opinion. I don't know. I know I'm going to probably end up doing one for Rise of Skywalker and stuff, but I don't know, Brian. Maybe eventually, but it's one of those things that I've got a lot of stuff on my plate. And until I got to get my knee recovered, because right now, the only reason I'm not getting more content out than I have recently is, frankly, and Mr. Miles can attest to this because he and I talk all the time, but Mr. Miles will be like messaging me and wondering where I've been for 3 hours, and it's because I had to go to physical therapy and then a doctor's appointment and then another therapy and I've been in and out of various medical places. Almost, you probably on average 4 or 5 days a week for at least 2 to 3 hours a day, and it's just, but then you got to add drive time and all that, and it's just exhausting. Once the leg is done, I will have a lot more time, but then there's the other factor of once the channel is big enough to where that becomes my full-time job. Because the other factor is once the leg is done, if the channel is not that big yet, then I will have to go back to work, and that'll suck up 8 hours a day. But me and Mr. Miles have been talking in the background about plans on how we're going to keep the channel moving in the right direction, and I think that we have a solid game plan. Stromer says, greetings, Michael. Get off my lawn, you lousy kids. Jerk. Darren says, I'm still holding out for a good Hulk streaming show eventually if they can work something out with a struggling Universal. Well, NBC is doing their Peacock streaming service, and keep in mind, Comcast owns NBC and Universal, so they could do a Hulk show there, except that then nobody would watch it because they Hulk is part of the MCU. So, I don't know. The Bendu were actually, at one time, an order of monks. Their symbol is in canon as the Empire Imperial symbol. It's called the Bendu. Well, that's fine, but I'm still not interested in gray Force users. I'm just not. They should put on the despecialized versions of Star Wars. They absolutely should, although those are unauthorized, so they'll never do it. I believe they've confirmed the cruiser in Episode 9 trailer is indeed Ghost. I did not know that. But stranger things have happened. Doesn't mean that the characters from will be there. It just means maybe we'll just see the ship. Just like how, I can't remember who was it. Was it Ahsoka that you heard mentioned over the comms in Rogue One? Might be just something like that. A little Easter egg. Dan says, in the animated shows, there's a character called Ahsoka that ended up leaving the Jedi Order, and she changed her lightsabers to clear color. Oh, I thought they were like white, but I know that she's a very popular character for people that follow the animations of the Star Wars animation animated series, but I'm not one of them. Stromer says, I also send greetings to Auntie, stalker of treats, eater of ham bones, occasional barker, sniffer of bottoms, and puppet mistress of Turtistan. You hear that? You're the puppet mistress of Turtistan. She doesn't care. And there's Luke's €2. Thank you again, my friend. And yes, I'm very excited about the growth of the channel. It has been wonderful lately to see the channel moving in the right direction. Thank you to all of you that are new subscribers, all of you that are old subscribers. I wouldn't be here without all of you. And thank you, of course, especially to Mr. Miles for his incredible work on recent videos. He's just getting better and better with every video. And pretty soon, I'm sure someone is going to steal him away from me. In the meantime, Luke wants to see number 12. You got it.
What's up, guys? Welcome to The Lore Reloaded. I am The Lore Reloaded, your wondrous host.
You're so bad that when you come on screen, people don't drink. They punch themselves in the dick for 5 straight minutes.
There we go. Valor says, did George even really write the first Star Wars movie since he took a bit of it from a movie based on a World War II dam-busting mission? Well, he adapted, yeah, the Dam Busters was obviously a big inspiration for the Death Star sequence at the end. But, I mean, George... Don't get me wrong, I love Star Wars, and I really appreciate what George created, but yeah, he's not the writer that some people think he is. He basically got the ending from Star Wars from Dam Busters. The whole thing was basically based on Flash Gordon. He wanted to do a Flash Gordon movie, but he couldn't get the rights, and so he ended up making Star Wars. Then afterwards, it turned out that Luke's journey was very much like the hero's journey from the Hero of a Thousand Faces, and so then everybody made a big deal out of what a genius he was for adapting that, and he just rolled with it. Okay, clear lightsaber might be called a white lightsaber. Yeah, because clear would mean you couldn't see it. You know what I mean? Like a clear liquid, like water is a clear liquid. Milk is a white liquid. See? And Joseph says, stop putting things in your mouth. I will try to refrain. Track 95 says, I agree with you completely. Everyone is entitled to their opinion, no matter how wrong they are. Exactly. And that's one thing that on this channel, I know that, everybody in the fandom menace and beyond has their own way of doing things. But on this channel, I truly believe that it's perfectly okay to have disagreement as long as we don't have hate. That's my only rule. No hate allowed. And when I say that, I mean, hate doesn't mean you have an opinion different than me. Hate means that you hold this disdain towards other people because they disagree with you. And that is, that's just bad. An article says that Disney Plus is not to ever have Tom Holland Spider-Man movies. That's interesting. Maybe this, because of the Sony deal? I don't know. I haven't looked on their library to see if any of the Spider-Man movies were there. Oh boy, I can't wait to see the wave of disappointment and dad joke accusations. Huh? Luke, you lost me on that one. I stopped watching the stream, so yeah, Disney Plus. I stopped watching the stream to, Disney Plus and watch The Mandalorian because I can't be as bad as you're saying. Well, we'll see, Commander Ironwolf, we'll see. When you come back. And I'm not saying it's horrible, I'm just saying it's not good. It's not bad, it's not good, it's just there. To me, it sounds like the story will be more like an onion, peeling back layers and developing a story, or like a cigar, a slow burn. Maybe. And if that's the case, and I know Mr. Miles mentioned The Expanse before. Yes, the first season of The Expanse is very slow. But where I'm concerned is that even in the first episode of The Expanse, they had character development. Right? So like the main character, I can't believe I'm forgetting his name. But the main character, and I can't believe I'm spacing his name. But anyway, he has the whole thing where they hear the distress call, and the captain orders that the logs be wiped, and so he reports it so that they have to investigate, and that's building the character. There's no real character development here. It's just people doing things. And Rock Solid, you should add about limiting use of emojis. Yeah, not a bad idea. Thomas says, I wonder if there will be somewhere to stream DC movies and TV shows. Well, there already is. Stranger Things, that's a totally different series. Stepped right in that piece of poodoo. In Rogue One, you can see the ghost in the battle, and they call for General Syndulla. That's right, that's who it was. I couldn't remember. I remember there was a character that they mentioned in the intercom that... thank you, John. Morning entry, and since I didn't watch anything with the ghost or that crew, it didn't mean anything to me, but for fans of it, that was like a nice little Easter egg. Morning entry, the chat, and all the hands at sea. Just finished an interview call, so I'm getting my coffee for the rest of the stream. Excellent, Captain. Did Mr. Miles tell you what Lore Reloaded said? If you're talking, Mr. Miles told me all sorts of stuff. But yes. Remember the very first time I offered to help you edit and you thought I just wanted to troll you? Yes, Mr. Miles. Yes. Keep patting yourself on the back, jerk. Rock says, what if I have disdain against myself? What then? Well, then you should probably seek professional help. Hate leads to suffering. Suffrage is a good thing. Suffering is not. Luke says, for your 10K reveal. Yes, I am getting ready for the 10K reveal. So yes. There is no place for hate here. Intelligent discussion and debate is a good thing. Agreed. And that's the thing. And Dan says, I hate Voyager the Thaw. Well, that's perfectly fine. And, just like a lot of people hate Threshold, a lot of people hate The Last Jedi. I'm sure some people hate The Mandalorian. I know some people think that I really hate it because I'm not talking about anything good about it. But I'm also not saying that was horrible. It was just lacking. That's my problem. I'm not saying, oh, this was bad. I'm saying, oh, why didn't they include some character development? Why didn't they include some story? It's beautiful to look at, but there's no substance. Mr. Miles says, I literally fell asleep the first time I tried to watch The Expanse. Understandable. It is a very slow show. at least for the first season. A future video I'm working on discusses the fact that all Hulk movie adaptations have failed to use the comic book origin, despite it being more inherently cinematic than the lab one. Yeah, you know, it's kind of funny. You would think that the bomb would, the whole thing with the gamma bomb would make sense. You also see the chopper on Yavin 4 rolling around. I don't know what chopper is, but cool, I guess. The first season, The Expanse, is very slow. It gets flashbacks of constantly changing locations and tons of characters. One might say it had to be slow. Well, yeah, that's the thing. The Expanse had a lot to set up. That's the problem here, is that The Mandalorian doesn't feel complex. It just doesn't feel developed either. I understand that you said you had a lot on your plate. Does that include wrapping up your Borg series? I think Unimatrix Zero is next. Maybe you could start a Romulan series. Actually, Brian, the next Borg video is actually in production right now. Suffrage, obvious play on Bird. Hope you got it. Oh, yes, yes. I remember when Bird could not understand that suffrage was a good thing. Discovery updated their sub expectations to 90 million plus by 2024. Also warned they don't expect to turn a profit for 5 years and to be a drag on earnings. Yeah, 90 million subs by 2024. How many do they have right now? Because, you know, it's funny. I've heard people say all sorts of different numbers. I haven't heard anything out of CBS. And it's funny because I hear people like, for example, people in the fandom Menace will say, oh, well, you know, CBS All Access only has 2 million subscribers. There are lots of YouTube channels that have more than that, right? And then I'll hear people like Ketwalski, and I'm not trying to pick on Ketwalski, but he's one of the few Discovery supporters I know out there. It's like, oh, yes, they've just broken 10 million subscribers or whatever. And it's like, where are you getting this information? Because CBS isn't telling us. Chopper is the astromech droid in Rebels. Ah, okay, I did not know that. Larry says everyone's entitled to my opinion. Let's see. I'm surprised you would have time to watch it, says to Mr. Miles. Oh, I guess I shouldn't have read that. Chopper was an R2 unit in the cartoon. Thank you. Chopper is Hera Syndulla's astromech. It grunts a lot. Gotcha. I guess that's why it's called Chopper. And Dan says, I mean called, not cold. Oh, there's a clone trooper called Rex. So in the end of Rebels, they confirm that old guy is Rex. Oh, wow. How did I miss that comment? The Return of the Jedi is an old rebel guy on Endor. Clone Wars has a clone trooper called Rex. So in the end of Rebels, they confirm the old guy is Rex. Gotcha. But you see, little things like that are fun Easter eggs, but they're not, there's nothing like inherent to the story where it matters. Like if you've never seen Rex in the Clone Wars, it doesn't take away from his being there, and it doesn't, you know, it doesn't hurt or help the movie. And Philip just subscribed. Thank you, Philip, if you're here. If you're not here, woo! It's always interesting to me that Voyager, the Voyager episode, The Thaw, a lot of fans absolutely hate it, and and you love it. Trying to remember which one Thaw is. Is that the one where they crash in the ice, or am I getting confused with another one? Tom says, I can confirm that Disney Plus has 3 subs, you, Nerdrotic, and myself. Yes. But you know what? And now Disney we'll find out. Disney may be more open and honest about how many subs they have than CBS has been. Remember, people, smash the like button, share via socials, limit emoji use, set shop to live. Yes, definitely include that, by the way. Set chat to live, turn mic and camera on before going live. Donate if you can. Join the Patreon. Down with Anti-Trekker before 10K. Yes, for those of you that don't know, Rock Solid and I have a little competition here to see who's the first to 10K, and he's losing badly. Get to the chopper! Yes. And Nicole says, never seen that one. You never seen Thaw? I'm trying to remember which. Okay, I'm going to look it up right now. Oh, that one? You mean this is Thaw? The one with the killer clown? Which, is that Thaw? Wow, okay, I remember that one. It's kind of a weird one. I don't know if I would call it the best or worst of Voyage. It's definitely an interesting take. And so yeah, that was actually yeah, that's a weird one. Which, by the way, sneak peek. You know, we're working on a Borg lore video. Get it? Borg lore. Get it? Get it? You had a 2,500 sub head start, Edger. You should have beaten me. This shouldn't have gotten us close. It did. Sure. Keep it up. And so, and where are you at right now, Rock Solid, with your subs, huh? Jerk. Alright, let's see. Where is Rock Solid? And let's see, Rock Solid. I guess I should have just gone to YouTube, huh? Come on. That's not what we want. Let's go to. Funny that let's see. That was Lenny, or it was Lenny, not Squiggy. Squiggy was the shorter one. And Timeless was the episode where they got stuck in the ice. Okay, I keep getting them mixed up. And let's see, Rock Solid Productions. There you are. So you're currently at 7.89 subs, huh? 7.89. Let's take a look at, you know, I know a lot of people think, you know, Rock Solid, that, let's take a look at Rock Solid's wonderful work here on YouTube and see, is he as good as, say, BIRDOPREY or Lore Reloaded? So let's take a look here at Rock Solid. It's kind of hard to make out what you're saying. Audio is a little messed up. Let's skip ahead. You have spares? Yeah, I'm a little confused, Rock Solid. No, what you're saying. When do you think the big 10K party will be? That's hard to say, Trek 95, because here's the funny thing about subs. Like right now, we've been getting a nice, healthy influx of subs, in no small part due to the massive success of our most recent video, the triple timeline video. That one did really, really well. So as of this moment, we are at 9,664 subs. So we're only about 336 subs away from 10,000. Now, at the rate we're going, we could hit that in a week, or it might take a couple of months. It's hard to say. But I'm going to get the 10,000 sub video ready, because if it happens sooner rather than later, I want to have it ready. What is one Enterprise episode you do not like? A Night in Sick Bay. What does the K mean? It's a letter after J. Let's see. Mr. Mouse says it's going to be Mirror Darkly. I love Mirror Darkly. Jeez. That Borg lore is an actual improvement on him. Got more handsome. Thomas says that Thaw was the second worst Voyager episode. Wow. Lorcutus of Borg is certainly less cutest than Borging. Rocksolid says, "You son of a bish, anti-trekker, you take that back." Sorry, Rocksolid. I played your video trying to get you some subs, but Rocksolid looks like a much younger bird. There you go. There's a nice compliment for you. Roxanne says, I was at the Oregon Convention Center in Portland Retro Gaming Expo, but I say we both have more subs than Megan, Kelly, and Terry. At least yesterday we were. Okay. I don't know Megan Kelly. Mike says, howdy, folks. I'm back. Oh, well, you've been gone all this time. No wonder you didn't respond. I asked you in the to make sure that I was looking at the right thing in Skype to send me a message saying, by the way, this is Vile Mike, because I wasn't 100% sure it was you. John DeMarco says, I thought Night and Sick Bay was a rough Enterprise episode. Agreed. I found your channel with Bounce of Terror video, then was hooked with the Triple Timeline video. Thank you, Jeff. Yeah, I actually really like doing both of those. Those are good videos. This slow-mo remind me, how do you like it when superheroes move really quickly, but they show it in slow-mo? It makes more sense than to show them fast, because when they show them moving super-duper fast, it looks silly. So it's like, and of course, this is nothing new. This goes back to like the $6 Million Man back in the day did that all the time. When he would, they'd say Steve Austin could run 60 miles an hour, and they just show him running in slow motion, and it would create the illusion that he's running that fast. Vile Mike says, I think the Enterprise Borg episode is worse as it irks my continuity. It does not bother me, Vile Mike. I'll tell you, you're talking about the episode Regeneration, because, yeah, the only problem I really have with it is where did those surviving drones come from? Because that sphere in First Contact was disintegrated. But aside from that, I really actually like that one. Darren says, my least favorite Enterprise episode is Shuttle Pod 1. What is your favorite Enterprise episode from Season 4? In a Mirror Darkly. In a Mirror Darkly. In a Mirror Darkly. I love In a Mirror Darkly. Absolutely wonderful. My sister, after watching Laura's NX video, and she agrees with him and said that the NX was a terrible ship, but I told her it isn't a bad ship design. Well, your sister is wrong, but that's okay. She's allowed to be wrong, Valor. I think that the NX is a solid ship. I really do like it. And it makes sense that it's like, I know Lore Reloaded went off on it being underpowered, but, it's Earth's first deep space cruiser. Rock Salt says, Megyn Kelly, former Fox News and NBC News. Oh, the Megyn Kelly. I didn't know she had a YouTube channel. Let's see. There was to be another season to explain stuff from the show in the first 4 seasons, but someone axed the show because he didn't like sci-fi or Star Trek. Yes, that was Les Moonves. And the problem was that the big problem there is honestly that since the 5th season of Enterprise never happened, we can only speculate as to what might have happened. And sometimes people try to say, when you argue about continuity problems with Enterprise, well, but in Season 5, this was going to... Yeah, but Season 5 didn't happen, so it doesn't matter. Will you play at the 10K video play the Enterprise theme? Seems appropriate. It would be appropriate, but then I would, of course, get a copyright strike. All right. Thank you, Vile. I thought that was you, so I just want to make sure. So, yes, you do have my permission. Damn, Peter, you need to lay off Aunt May's wheat cakes? Okay. Vile Mike says, sorry I had to work for a bit. I will, no problem. And, of course, you just did. I think the 10K or 10,000 party will be on Thanksgiving. That would be awesome. I would love to sit here and eat some turkey and hang out with you guys on Thanksgiving. I will definitely do a live stream on Thanksgiving, by the way. Probably not as late as usual, so that me and the family can watch a movie like we usually do on Thanksgiving. But we will definitely be doing a stream on Thanksgiving. By the way, since I didn't get the time to check it, how's doing the Cauldron of Evil? Sorry, I meant the political arena. Still more the same. I have not done much on the Rational Roundtable channel this week. Actually, I haven't done anything on there this week. But I'm going to be getting over there soon. It's just been, like I said, the knee has really been giving me a hard time. Today's the first day where the leg is tolerable. And so I'm going to try to get some work done today. I'm going to try to get a Rational Roundtable video out for tomorrow morning. If you have a problem with the Borg wreckage, you're not going to like Episode 9 Death Star wreckage. Oh, don't get me started on that. Yeah, I know. Death Star is disintegrated in space, and yet this huge swath of the Death Star survived crashing on a planet that is not Endor? No. But yeah. The Borg were frickin' found on Earth. How can they forget that? Well, they forgot. Oh, you tell me that part of the yeah, I don't like the fact that, the timeline's problem. However, this is where another, and I should have mentioned it. Dang, I forgot to. I should have mentioned this in the triple timeline video. The triple timeline theory fixes that. Because after the events of Enterprise, or after the events of First Contact, they go back, the Borg are there, Enterprise finds the Borg and everything, but guess what? That's in a different timeline than the Prime timeline, which means that in the original timeline, the Borg were never found because that didn't happen. And so that would also mean that in all probability, in the secondary timeline, the Discovery timeline, they would be better equipped to handle the Borg. And that may be actually where some of the technology we see, like control and stuff like that, comes from. Mara says, I am dressed like Spider-Man. That's because I am Spider-Man. I'm Spider-Old Man. I still need you to do it. Read the message off stream. Oh, okay. I didn't realize there was something you needed me to do. So I will take a look at that after the stream, which I'm going to be wrapping up in a few minutes anyway. And Rocksolid says, remember, smash the like button, share via social, set chat to live, turn mic and camera on before going live, limit emoji use, donate if you can, join the Patreon, and down with MCU Aunt May's mom jeans. No, the super chat with Deadpool. Didn't I play the super chat with Deadpool already? I thought I did. Maybe I'm lost now. Comrade. I assume you're new. I don't remember seeing you before. Comrade says, hey, Anti-Tracker, do you have any plans on watching the new Eisenhorn TV series based in the Warhammer 40k universe? I hadn't heard about that one. I might check it out. I will say this, Jaeger's not here right now, but I've been watching that Warhammer animation that he's been bugging me to watch for a long time. And it's kind of difficult to follow, to be honest with you. As a non-Warhammer player, they kind of seem to assume you know the lore. And so that kind of messes me up. And it was after World War III. No governments. Riker said it after they arrived. Okay. The fans knew more than Starfleet did in that episode. We have to keep that in mind. That's true, too. Mr. Miles is an Enterprise Borg episode apologist. Well, you guys know, I think that the timeline theory that I present fixes that continuity problem. Brian says, I want to get a figurine of the classic Enterprise. I'm looking for some Trek artwork. Do you have any recommendations? I know it's a lot to ask. Well, actually, honestly, if you're looking for like ship models and stuff, Eagle Moss is a great source for that stuff. Their XL series are gorgeous, but if you're trying to be conservative on space, their regular series are nice and small, and you can put a bunch of them on your desk. They're very, very nice. Most of them are very accurate, and so that kind of stuff is cool. As far as Trek artwork, you kind of got to search around. I've seen some nice Trek artwork, but not from any one particular source, put it that way. Let's see. The first Agonizer booth was made on Enterprise in Mirror Darkly, and then it got destroyed. Dr. Phlox made it, but they must have found a way to make more. Yes, I'm sure. And since Hoshi became Empress, that would make sense that she would know about it and probably implement it across the fleet. The Borg assimilation of Earth was an inside job. I did not realize that. And thank you for that piece of information, Rock Solid. Matthew says, if we're lucky, then the Death Star throne room scene we'll see will be the third Death Star that Palpatine based his designs on. There's some legacy material to support that kind of thing. Yeah, but I don't think that they're going to go with anything from legacy material. Tim says, the Borg in the Enterprise series should have been the catalyst to kickstart the Mirror Universe, with evidence of this in that two-parter in Season 4, and it would have been a stellar show. Actually, I have a theory on where the Mirror Universe came from, but that will be a future video. Tom says, notice how in the new Star Wars trilogy, they have planets similar to the original and prequel movies. Why don't they just return to those planets instead of making copies? Because they want to pretend it's original and new, and a lot of it has to do with selling stuff. Like, you know, everybody's been to Tatooine, so if you sell, hey, look, it's the Tatooine action kit. No, but if you go Jakku, hey, it's something new. Cinnamon says, have a good day. Take care of myself. My friend. Vile says, for me, TOS is better than Enterprise only because it's the first. I love TOS. I've always been a TOS first kind of guy, but, you know, I like Enterprise. I don't like Enterprise's continuity problems. And that's a big part of why I did the triple timeline theory. Shormer says, the Borg who were there in Enterprise were from a different timeline. They were Mabel and Earl, and they were on Earth taking photos where the debris from space fell on their ship. Okay. Wow. Dan says, "Do you wish we had gotten to see the NX refit with secondary hull?" I do. I'm disappointed we didn't get to see that. I really would have. I think that it's a shame Enterprise got cut short. Mara says, "I was making a fat joke. I use Spider-Man, aka Peter Parker. You have been eating too many of Aunt May's wheat cakes, and you got fat." Ah, I gotcha. I was too slow to catch that. Roxod likes Enterprise more than TOS. TOS is my least favorite series. You're banned. Mr. Miles says, "What about the timeline we saw in Voyager when they went to the 90s and there was no eugenics wars?" Well, that's an interesting one because there's different theories on the eugenics wars, and any of them are possible. One is that the eugenics wars was a war that didn't affect the major Western powers, which means like the United States was not directly involved in the eugenics wars. And so that's why Janeway and stuff could be wandering around Chicago or whatever and not know about the eugenics wars, because it was taking place in third world countries mostly, which is where these supermen were rising and taking power. And unfortunately, that's the prevailing thing. There's also the fact that I think the eugenics wars are placed in a different date in another episode, and there's a continuity problem there. But yeah, that's another thing we're going to have to dig into in probably a future lore video. And Mr. Miles is also putting TOS at the bottom of the list. Thank you, Mr. Miles, you jerk. I think it'd be funny if there was a super chat with lore dressed like the MCU Aunt May. The response from a certain someone would be funny. Well, we have that one. It's called Lore and Order. So is the second Death Star wreckage? Well, I don't think they've said flat out whether it's the second Death Star or the first Death Star. I would assume it's the second Death Star since we do see the throne room, and we never saw a throne room in the first one. Do you like any particular Star Trek tabletop role-playing games? I actually like, oh gosh, I wish Lore Reloaded were here right now. There's one that Lore has that we played a couple of times that I had a lot of fun with, where you have like little ships and you move them around. It's not the old FASA game. I did play that back in the day. But this one only uses like cannon ships. But I can't remember what it's called, but it was pretty good. It's a recent game. Princess Leia in Extended Universe gave parts of the first Death Star wreckage to people from her planet who were off-world at the time. Okay. But, since it's Extended Universe, it wouldn't count. What do you believe the Mirror Universe Borg to be like? I actually have a theory on that, too. I think that the Borg and their opposite exist in both the Prime and the Mirror universes. I think that one of them crossed over and spawned the other. Thundercats Ho says, "My Netflix isn't working at the moment. Has it come to an end? Oh, I'm not subscribed." Mr. Rouse says, "Andrew, I rewatched the Trek Yards episode comparing the NX to its refit and the 1701. It's actually a very nice and believable transition." I do like the NX-01 refit, and I do think it looks like a stepping point in between the NX era and the 1701. Roxall says, "I just had an epiphany. It kind of hurt. You need to look at the Mandalorian like Frank and Freddy's love. Give it time, let it grow, and you'll be rewarded with something that is beautiful." Maybe you're right, and I hope you're right. I'm just, and again, please don't take this the wrong way. I'm not saying The Mandalorian sucks. I'm just saying that it was neither bad nor good. It just felt like it was there. Do you like Ant-Man and his abilities? I think Ant-Man is cool, yes. Is it Star Trek Attack Wing similar to X-Wing? Yes, that's the one, Tim. Since when have you resurrected Rational Roundtable channel? I missed that announcement. Oh, it was a couple of weeks ago, Luke. And basically what I'm trying to do is, because sometimes people want to talk about politics, and I don't want this channel to get taken down, especially now that we're closing in on 10,000 subs. And I don't want it to get demonetized for the same obvious reason. So I'm going to move all my political commentary and stuff to Rational Roundtable. So I'm not going to be talking about, woke this, woke that, SJW this, SJW that, and that kind of thing on this channel. I'm going to focus all that to Rational Roundtable. And the Mirror Universe seems to be as if the Roman Empire never fell. You're close, but a little bit off, Thomas. Just felt like it was there, like this channel. I know, jerk. I'll show myself out. Yeah, you better show yourself out, Mr. 8,000 subs. Dad says, sometimes in films and TV, they say something is vaporized, but it's not the same as a Star Trek phaser set to vaporize. Yeah, That's true. But, you know, that's one problem that writers, a lot of times what will happen is writers will write in that, you know, Joe is vaporized, right? And then they can't figure out how to make someone vaporized, so they do something else to them. And so you're like, wait a minute, he said he's vaporized, but he was really, you know, fill in the blank, something else. And that gets me caught up in the chat. Whew. And so with that, I am going to wrap things up because it's almost lunchtime, and my leg's not hurting too bad. I didn't get a lot of sleep last night, and I'm going to try to catch up on some of that and then get some work done this afternoon. Mr. Miles, keep an eye out for that part of the Borg video that I'm working on for you. Well, actually, Joshua's working on for you. It should be ready by the end of today. And Rockstar says, and I'm very proud of those 8,000 subs, still more than Bird, so I have to have that going for me, which is nice. That's true. And by the way, you know I'm just kidding around with you, Rockstar, because heck, I had 8,000 subs a couple of months ago. So I really, you know, I'm glad that your channel is growing. I want everybody in the nerd community to be successful. I want us all to have channels the size of Nerderotics. You know, absolutely. Bob Mike says TOS, not toss. Yes. You know, that's one thing I've gotten into fights with Lore Reloaded about, because I hate that he calls it toss. It's either Star Trek the original series, or Star Trek TOS if you must abbreviate. Ever watched the movie Heartbeeps? No. Vile Mike says, I have almost 80 subs, so suck it. There you go. Enjoy lunch and get some rest. Thank you. Luke says, are you planning on doing a shout outs on your other channel, to your other channel on both channels? I might, but first things first, Luke, right now, my main focus is to continue to grow this channel and to use Rational Roundtable as just an outlet for me to talk about politics and stuff. So yeah. And Mr. Ron says, I've heard other people pronounce it as toss, so it's not just lore. Oh, I'm not saying it's just lore. I'm not. It's basically, here's the thing, Mr. Miles. I think the people that refer to the original series as toss are generally people who grew up post next gen. Basically, people who grew up with, you know, thinking of Star Trek as abbreviations. Star Trek TNG, Star Trek DS9, and so then you just get to a point where you just call it TNG, DS9. Well, for some reason, they don't say TOS, they say TOS. And it's like, I never referred to the next generation as TNG, you know? I've never referred to, you know, Enterprise as INT. So why would I call the original series TOS? I don't know. In that case, it's not STD. Well, it's definitely, yeah, STD, you know, Discovery is in a class all by itself. Or a simple link in the description of each video. What I'm going to probably do, Luke, is I am going to add a link to my videos to the Rational Roundtable channel so that people know, hey, here's where to go to talk about news, politics, crap like that. But right now, there's not a lot of content over there, so I don't want to waste people's time. There's only one live stream, and there's like 2 videos, and so there's not a lot there. Once I have a little bit of stuff for people to look at, then I'll do something. And it's really just going to be me just ranting about whatever I feel like ranting, whether it's religious or news or whatever. It's stuff that I know YouTube would demonetize me for. And that's why I won't talk about it here. Darth Maul says, I've always said TOS as TOS. Good. And Roxette says it's toss, like toss it in the trash. You and me are going to have some words, my friend. STD should be DIS if we follow the ENT. Okay, so STD should be DIS if we follow the ENT example. It's supposed to be the same timeline anyways, right? Well, you know, and that's the funny thing, because, like, I know that STD is a very unfortunate acronym, and some people use it as a derogatory. I generally refer, and you notice when I'm talking about it, I'll generally refer to it as Star Trek Discovery or just Discovery. And STD, I'll write that sometimes for the sake of brevity. I know this, but I don't know why, but I think STD just makes me think of the show more than DIS does. Either one, though, I don't have a problem with. And I don't mean it as a derogatory if I write STD. I know some people do. but I just put it as that's the name of that show, or that's an identifier for that show. Valor says, I use TOS, or, oh, geez, I said TOS. TOS because of lack of space in chat. Usually I just say Star Trek when talking. Yeah, me too. Maybe you'll rebrand Me Poo for the Rational Roundtable channel. I'll have to come up with something. Yes. Don't sing it, bring it, tosser. You guys are all done. All right, guys. Have a good one. Take care. And remember, Auntie is watching.
Let me play among the stars. Let me see what spring is like on Jupiter and Mars. In other words, you got mud on your face, you big disgrace, kicking your can all over the place, singing, we will love you. It's true, Mr. Miles. Frank Sinatra and Freddie Mercury were man-on-man lovers. Buddy, you're a young man, hard man, shouted in the...
Well, the credits weren't rolling right anyway, but Rock Solid puts in $1 because he's going to just be a dick about this. So, post-credit donation, ha ha ha, number 17. You got it, my friend. That's not the one with Laura in it, is it? There we go.
Hey, you want to learn about Jesus?
There's no such thing as hooker-client confidentiality.
And so there you go. Thank you guys. Thank you, Rock Solid. I do appreciate it. And because you were kind enough to put in that donation at the last minute just to drive me crazy, how about some special credits courtesy of Rock Solid Productions?
Rock Solid Productions. That's me. My name is Gary Capture. I am your host on this channel. And I really want to invite you to be a part of our channel here. It's a community. I want to know the type of technical consumer electronics questions that you reviewed. What are you wondering? Should you buy? Should you not buy? That's one of the biggest philosophies behind Rock Solid Productions. Is our should you buy X, Y, and Z product? I hate